I've made videos in the past about the best supercars, the best sports cars, the best muscle cars in GTA 5. It's now time to go over some of the best SUVs in GTA 5. There's some that are really nice, and there's some that aren't that nice, and we're going to be going over the nice ones today. So I hope you enjoy the video, and without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start off with a fan favorite, the Pagasi Tauros. This car is beautiful. It's $500,000. It has a 127 mile per hour top speed, one of the fastest out of all the SUVs in the entire game. It has the best acceleration out of all the SUVs in the game, and it also has the second best handling, traction, and agility. Honestly, when this car first came out, I was pretty hyped, but then I didn't really like it. There's some little things about the vehicle I'm not a huge fan of, like the side skirts, not a huge fan of those. Same with the whole front end, just the headlights in general, they're just a little off. But when you're actually just looking at the SUV, it looks pretty proper, especially from the back. This thing looks like a beast. And it's a pretty nice SUV, and it only costs $500K. I know for an SUV that's kind of expensive, but I definitely think it's worth it. It's a beautiful vehicle. Next, we have the Dubsta and the Dubsta 2. I love both these vehicles, but I love the Dubsta 2 more. Number one, the tailgate. It's on the left side instead of the middle. That's awesome. The trim on the Dubsta 2 is also blacked out, as you guys can see, which is pretty cool, and the front windshield can also be tinted on the Dubsta 2. That's awesome. If you guys want to get it, you can call it in from Miss Baker, and you can also spawn this vehicle in at the custom shops. There's videos on how to do it. I'll link it down below. The Dubsta 2 is clearly a lot better in my opinion. There's a couple little issues though. That front bull bar, you're not able to take it off. Same with the rear bumper, those metal bars, you can't take that off either. But honestly, I don't really care about that because all I really wanted was to tint the windshield and have that spare tire on the left side instead of the middle, because honestly, I think it looks a lot nicer. It's a beautiful vehicle, and the Dubsta 2 specifically is also somewhat of a rare vehicle. I have a really rare variant of it where I also have Yankton plates on it and green window tint, which is pretty cool, plus a couple really cool colors and Benny's rims and stuff like that. But yeah, the Dubsta 2 is a beautiful vehicle along with the regular Dubsta, but personally I like the Dubsta 2 more. So check out that video down below if you guys want to obtain the Dubsta 2. Next up, we're taking a look at a vehicle that a lot of people overlook, and it's going to be the Huntley S. I think this thing is amazing. It's based off of a Bentley Bentayga in real life, and I think it has a few little pieces from other vehicles as well. It only costs $195K to buy in game, and you can find it on the streets, but you cannot store it, sadly, because I believe it's too hot to modify or something like that. But one thing I would suggest doing if you buy this car is changing the headlights. You guys can see it. When you change the headlight color on this thing, the headlights really pop out, and it looks awesome. It's a beautiful vehicle. I'm not too sure why so many people overlook it. Maybe because it is a street vehicle and people are like, oh, you can find it on the streets, that means it sucks. Well, not necessarily. I mean, the stats aren't great, but I think it looks really cool. Comparing it to some of the older Rolls-Royce vehicles we have in-game, like the Super Diamond, I think this looks a lot nicer than that. Let me know what you guys think of the Huntley S down below in the comment section. Next, we have the FQ2. This one is perfect for you beginners. Honestly, it's not the greatest SUV in the game. In terms of stats, it's not great at all. It's also not the nicest SUV in the game, but it's still pretty nice. I've seen some people driving around with cars like this in real life. They've only thrown a couple modifications on. They just dropped it down to the floor, threw some nice rims on and maybe a ceramic coating, and they made the vehicle look pretty damn cool. In GTA, there's like no modifications for it, but you put the right mods on that it has and it'll look pretty clean. So if you're new to the game and looking for a budget SUV, just drive around and you'll find this thing on the streets. Most of the time you'll get stars when you enter it because Simeon wants this car for some strange reason. Honestly, it's a pretty nice SUV. If you're a low level, you should definitely get it. By the way, be sure to check out Digizani. They'll hook you up with tons of discounted games, gaming accessories, discounted gift cards, and in-game currency for dozens of your favorite games. Don't forget to use code Frolics at checkout for a 10% discount. Next up, we have the Novak. Now this is actually another pretty nice looking SUV. It costs like $610,000. It's based off of a Maserati Levante and an Alfa Romeo Stelvio. I definitely pronounced that wrong. But the car is pretty cool. It's one of the best vehicles in the SUV class you can use for racing. There's three you would consider: the Tauros, this, and the Rebella GTS. We'll talk about the Rebella in just a minute. But this car is pretty awesome. Like I said, those three vehicles are the best in the SUV class for racing, and they all have one great strength. The Novak, it's going to be its handling. It handles really, really well around turns compared to the Tauros and compared to the Rebella GTS, which is one thing you may like about it. It's also pretty fast out of those three vehicles, as the second highest top speed, which is awesome. It's honestly a pretty cool car, and Maseratis are dope. Next up we have the XLS. It's a pretty nice SUV. Like, look at it. It's pretty clean. It only costs $253,000. In real life, it's based off of a Mercedes GLS and a BMW X5. I could see the Mercedes part, but honestly, I don't really see too much of the X5 in it. Maybe on the back just a little bit. The one thing I don't like about this vehicle, number one, is in GTA 5 Online, it's very high up. You guys can see the suspension is dropped on this thing in-game, and it looks proper, but you can't lower it that much in online, which kind of sucks. But honestly, it's still a pretty nice SUV. I do wish we had an AMG version. I really want Rockstar to add an AMG GLE or something like that, because I think those look pretty nice. The overall body style looks awesome. I'm not saying these don't look good at all, because honestly, it looks pretty proper, but it's not my favorite in the game. It is a pretty nice SUV, not too expensive, stat-wise. Don't use it to race anybody. Use it to cruise around as a luxurious vehicle. Next, we got one of the most expensive SUVs in the game, the Rebella GTS. It's pretty proper. There's three vehicles you would want to use in the SUV class for racing: the Rebella GTS, the Novak, and the Tauros. They're all great in their own ways. The Tauros has the highest top speed, the Rebella GTS has the best acceleration, and the Novak has the best handling. But this car is expensive. $1.2 million, you could buy almost 3 Lamborghini Uruses in GTA 5, which is pretty crazy. But this car is expensive for a reason. The upgrades are endless. You would imagine this thing would be a Benny's vehicle, because you could put so many customizations on this thing, it's insane. It's not worth $1.2 million, but it's pretty cool. I own like 2, maybe 3 of them. I really don't know. But it's a pretty nice vehicle, and I love the customizations for it. And finally, the biggest SUV we got in GTA 5, the Landstalker XL, costing $1.2 million. This thing is a monster. It's honestly pretty decent. The one thing I absolutely hate about this vehicle is the fact that its interior is not updated. Guys, it's insane. Like, this thing looks brand new, 2025 type of SUV, and the interior is reused from vehicles that were in this game from 2013. That's the only thing I don't like. But this thing is pretty sick. $1.2 million, honestly, you're getting a really clean SUV on the outside, a pretty ugly one on the inside, but it has a couple cool upgrades, and it looks pretty damn cool. So would I suggest buying it? Honestly, it's up to you. Well guys, that is going to wrap up the video for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you're new, and be sure to comment down below. Do you want to see any other videos? Just suggest them to me and maybe you'll see them up on the channel in a couple of days. By the way, what do you think of this G-Wagon? It looks sexy. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.